Basement of La Penta. This is WICR.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sports Ball. Jersey Joe here, and it's a little bit of time to get into the NBA Draft Lottery. It's kind of a nice little snack in between the NBA, the Eastern Conference Finals, the Western Conference Finals. Kind of builds a lot of hype and momentum around the draft. And look, I like this draft this year. I definitely think it's a little bit top heavy, but certainly there are a lot of impact players, and clearly the Knicks are one of those teams out there that are desperate for one of those impact players. And if they get that number one overall pick, which they have a 19.9% chance of getting, that is where they have a lot of options. And at the end of the day, the interesting thing for me, and I know Phil has expressed a lot of interest in him, is D'Angelo Russell. Now, obviously the other day D'Angelo Russell came out there and he said, I'm the best player in this draft, and I gotta be honest, I don't disagree with him one bit. I think that the NBA right now is all about guard play. It's a wing league now. You need guards to win titles in this league, and you need multiple good guards. Now, obviously, the headliners of this draft are guys like Karl Anthony Towns, Jahlil Okafor, Willie Cauley-Stein. All very good college players who I think could have nice careers in the NBA. But at the end of the day, big men are just not the reasons that you win titles. They're not. They have important roles. They do very important things. But it is a guard league, and if you don't have guards, you are not winning. I mean, you look at all the tremendous centers, big men in this league, Al Jefferson, DeMarcus Cousins. Guys can't even sniff the playoffs. And it just shows you need a serviceable guys like a Timothy Mozgov. You have guys like Dwight Howard out there. And I just think, though, if you don't have multiple guards, you don't win. And if I get the first pick, and I'm the New York Knicks, and I'm Phil Jackson, I've expressed how I feel about D'Angelo Russell. There's not a question. I don't hesitate at all. He's my number one pick, and I don't blink twice about it. When you look at D'Angelo Russell at Ohio State as a freshman, the things that he did, incredible. He is so aggressive. And the thing I really like about him is he knows when and how to play. I mean, he knows when he's got to be more pass oriented, and he showed. I mean, look, he was Ohio State's basketball team this year. Whenever he had to, it was all on him. He did it when he had to score. He knew when he had to be aggressive on that end. When he had to get his teammates involved, he knew. And I think that's what you like to see, is he showed the leadership on the court. He showed that in situations he understood when his role had to change. He understood when he had to be more scoring oriented, when he had to put it on the defensive end, and he knew when he had to give the ball up to his teammates and get them involved. He really showed a lot to me, and I think the comparisons that you draw is Russell Westbrook. I mean, you watch the guy for 5 minutes, and he's got Russell Westbrook written all over him. Extremely hyper-aggressive on the floor at all times. And look, you look at what Russell Westbrook does. Guy's a pretty darn good basketball player. What he did this year without Kevin Durant and with all the injuries that the Thunder had, incredible. I mean, one of the most just jaw-dropping seasons that I've ever seen, and you respect the heck out of competitors like that. And that's something I think the Knicks clearly need. Now, I don't sugarcoat it. I'm not a fan of Carmelo Anthony. I don't think you ever win a title with Carmelo Anthony with the way that he plays. The way you win, and I guess if you were going to win with Carmelo, although I still don't think it ever happened, is you need somebody keeping the ball out of his hands. He cannot have the ball in his hands, because when he has the ball in his hands, he's taking all the shots. He's not passing the ball to his teammates, and he doesn't set a good tone of team winning basketball. You win titles in the NBA by sharing the basketball and playing good defense. Neither of those things Carmelo has ever done, and I don't think Carmelo will ever do. I mean, you look at his age now. You're not going to change your game dramatically at this point. At this point, he is what he is. He's a good scorer. He takes too many shots. He's not a great teammate, and he doesn't play any defense. That's Carmelo in a nutshell. But I think if I'm the Knicks right now, D'Angelo Russell is the kind of guy I desperately want. Now, I think obviously a lot of people are going to want to go with the Okafers, with maybe the Towns or the Cauley Stein, but man, for me, you look at the NBA now. Look how many big men are out there. Who's dominating these NBA playoffs right now? It's all guard play, all of it. I mean, look, LeBron is in his own league because he does everything. He's every position wrapped up into one package. He's a point guard. He could be a center. He's a power forward. He's a small forward. He's everything. He plays every position. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at this league, when you look at what these guys are doing, it is all about guard play. You need serviceable centers. You don't need a dominant center in this league because they don't impact the game away from the basket enough. The game is now away from the basket, and you need guys who can stretch the floor, who can hit shots from multiple spots on the floor, who can get their teammates involved, who can move with the ball. That is what the NBA is now. It is not a center big man league anymore. You get by without them. Look at what the Miami Heat did without having a center, basically. 4 NBA Finals without having any big man outside of Chris Bosh and Udonis Haslem. They had nothing, and they were able to win 2 NBA titles and get to 4. You need serviceable big men like what Cleveland has now in Mozgov. Golden State, look, what are they? I mean, look, they've got Bogut, they've got Festus Ezeli, but at the end of the day, those are serviceable centers. Now, Bogut maybe is a little bit more of an upgrade than a serviceable center, but nothing earth-shattering. And I think if you take an Okafor or you take a Towns with that one pick, the expectation is set that they're going to be Wilt Chamberlain. They're going to be earth-shattering. They're going to take you to the playoffs. Centers are not capable of doing that anymore in the NBA. It's just not going to happen. You need one. If you're a Dwight Howard and you're on a team like Houston with a Harden, who is, again, you need those wing players. The NBA today is about having guys like D'Angelo Russell. That's how you win. That's how you build a winning roster. If I have that number 1 pick and I'm the New York Knicks, again, Phil Jackson has said it. He got fined for it, for saying how much he respected the game of Russell and how much of a good player he thinks he is. When I watched the tournament this year, I mean, you watch the tape, you watch how this guy plays. It doesn't take a hard time to figure out. The eye test tells you everything you need to see about him. D'Angelo Russell is a phenomenal basketball player, and look, wherever he lands, I think whoever takes him is in a great spot. I mean, if the Knicks, if they get that number 1 pick, I think it'd be a big mistake to pass up on him. I really do. Okafor is a guy who, look, he's got a ton of talent. I think the guy's going to have a nice NBA career. But if I'm building a team and my expectations are to get to the NBA playoffs quickly, I don't think that there's any question D'Angelo Russell is going to make more of an impact right away because, again, I need guys who are going to impact the game in multiple ways away from the basket, and I don't think you get that away from Okafor. His defense is very questionable. Now, he moves extremely well to the basket, but again, really doesn't impact it away, doesn't have that perimeter shot, and that's something that I just can't live with today in the NBA. I need my players to be to be very versatile, and I just don't think you get that. I think with D'Angelo Russell, you get all of that. To me, his quote was correct. He is the best player in this NBA draft, and if I am the New York Knicks, there's not a question in my mind. If I get that number 1 pick, I'm taking him, and we'll certainly see what they do, but I think right now, if you're a Knicks fan, that's what your best option is. And again, I'm not a big fan of Carmelo. I don't think you'll ever win titles with him, but if you get a guy like D'Angelo Russell in there, certainly you're going to get my attention back because this season certainly was not worth watching, but we will see. Today could definitely be a big turning point, and it'll be exciting to see what happens tonight because whenever you have a relevant franchise who's up there for that number 1 pick, it always creates a little bit more interest, and certainly tonight that's something that we'll have, but more interest is on the way with the Sports Vault, so don't go anywhere. I'll be back in a little while.